So we're going to start our discussion of measurement and converting between units with what are called linear units. These are units like inches, feet, yards, and miles that are used to measure the distances between points. Now, converting between these units, and in fact, all of the different types of units we're going to be discussing, depends on knowing a conversion factor that equates measurements in two different units. For example, 1 foot is equivalent to 12 inches, 1 yard is equivalent to 3 feet, and 1 mile is equivalent to 5,280 feet. So how can we take this equivalence, this conversion factor here, and use it to actually convert one unit into another? Well, the reasoning goes like this. I'm going to take this equation that I have here, and I'm going to divide both sides of it by 1 foot. If I do that, the right side becomes 12 inches per foot, and the left side becomes 1. And that really is the key part of this whole process. Because that equals 1, I can multiply any number by it, right? Because remember, multiplying a number by 1 doesn't change its value. It doesn't change how much it represents, the quantity. So let's look at an example. Let's say I want to convert 9 feet into inches. Okay, well, I'm going to start with 9 feet. And I'm going to multiply that by my conversion factor, 12 inches per 1 foot. And when you're doing this, you can ignore number. You can ignore the difference between foot singular and feet plural, right? So I'm going to cancel the foot units, just like I would a number or a variable. And all of this left is inches, and those were the units that I wanted. So what I'm left with now is 9 times 12 divided by 1 inches. 9 times 12 divided by 1, that's 108. And there's my answer. All right, so suppose I wanted to go the other way. Suppose instead of going feet into inches, I want to go inches into feet. Well, go back to the conversion factor. And instead of dividing both sides by feet, let's say we divide both sides by 12 inches. Then I get 1 foot per 12 inches is equal to 1. So now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take my 72 inches, multiply that by 1 foot per 12 inches. Those inches are going to cancel. You notice again, all that's left is feet. If you look at the numbers, 72 times 1 divided by 12 feet. 72 times 1 is 72 divided by 12, that's 6. 72 inches is 6 feet. Okay, so let's take a step back here, right, and think about what I did in each of these cases. The first time I multiplied by the conversion factor. The second time I divided by the conversion factor. And that is always what these unit conversion questions are going to come down to. The only real question you have to answer for yourself is, which of those do I do? Do I multiply or do I divide? Right? Well, here's how I remember in my head how to do this. Right? Start by thinking about the units that you're given. Those were inches over here and feet over here. You want those to go away. You want to take those away and replace them with the units that you're looking for. So to get those to go away, those units have to go in the bottom. Then it's going to cancel with the one that's up in the top. The units that you want have to go up here in the numerator. If you look back at both of these examples that I did, right, that's what happened both times. So let's take a look at one more example here. This one is a little more complicated because if you look at our conversion factors over there, we don't have a conversion factor that goes from miles to yards. Okay, so how are we going to do this? Well, this is kind of the power of this approach, right? What we call dimensional analysis, because it's the dimensions of each conversion factor that we're focusing on. Sometimes we have to do this in multiple steps, right? I want to go from miles to yards, right? So using this first conversion factor, I can go from miles to feet. Then using This one, I can go from feet into yards. Right, so I'm just going to have to do this twice. I'm going to take 1 mile, and now I'm going to use the mile to feet conversion. Remember what I talked about on the last slide. The unit that I want to go away has to go in the bottom, and the unit that I want to keep has to go in the top. Okay, so this is good, right? This takes me from miles into feet. To get to yards, now I got to bring that second conversion factor in here. And I'm going to do the same thing. I want to get rid of the feet, so feet goes in the bottom. And I want to keep the yards, so yards goes in the top. And the numbers are just what I get from the conversion factor, 1 yard to 3 feet. Now the feet are going to cancel, and now I'm in good shape. All that's left are yards. So if we look at the numbers, this is 1 times 5,280 times 1 divided by 1 times 3 yards. 5,280 divided by 3, that's 1,760 yards. And there's my answer, right? There's the number of yards in 1 mile. So in the next lecture, we're going to continue this conversation of dimensional analysis and using conversion factors to switch back and forth. Only this time, in that lecture, we're going to do it with values that come from the metric system. And as you'll see, doing this with the metric system is a whole lot more straightforward. To do these customary or imperial conversions, we needed 3 different numbers, right? We needed a new number for every pair of units. Well, the nice thing about the metric system is that there is only one conversion factor that you use over and over again.